It's the kind of letting go that isn't by choice. It's almost like you have to do it. If you don't, you're going to end up having to purge something. And if you do, you're going to find a lot more ease and joy in the coming weeks and months, especially as this eclipse approaches. Because you want your mind and your heart to be in the right place when you have a lunar and solar eclipse. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to The Real Sky. I'm Dr. Danny, physician astrologer, and welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to talk about the coming full moon on February 1st. If this is the first time you've been to my channel, I would like you to pause and go back to the new moon video that we dropped 2 weeks ago, entitled You Won't Even Have Time to Grieve. Because if you're just now showing up for astrology energy for this lunar cycle, it's already manifested. It's already happening. And that's okay. We do our lunar cycles unconsciously, but when we follow them consciously, then we have a little bit more power to go with the flow, to be in the groove. And the title of this talk is You're Not Fighting It Anymore. And I really think that everything that's been happening over the past several lunar cycles, what's coming with the eclipse and everything else, that we're feeling this. We're feeling this flood of energy that's flowing over us that we simply cannot fight anymore. And so what I'm going to do today is go through the astrology of the real sky in general, and then I'll show you how to find your rising sign in the true sky. And then after that, I will take you through your rising signs sign by sign. So the timestamps will be below. And if you are one of my students, or you are wanting to learn how to read the sky, I recommend you listen to all of them because they all have individual lessons. Also, if you don't know your birth time, you can use these rising signs as also your sun sign. So if you resonate with Cancer energy because your sun is a Cancer sun, then you can listen to the Cancer reading as well. So I will get into the general reading. All right, friends, here we are. This is the real sky. I had someone ask me in one of the YouTube comments, what system is this? And my response is the real sky. I mean, we are not trying to create a construct here. We are using astronomical scientific data that's been, of course, processed into a graphical image we can observe. But if you go outside and you check this, you will find Jupiter right here. You will find the moon right here on February 1st. And to me, it just seems to make sense. If you're going to read, let's put the constellations in here. If you're going to read Jupiter in your sky right now, doesn't it make sense to read it as a Gemini energy since it's actually in Gemini? Okay, same thing with Uranus. Uranus is actually in Taurus right now. And then, of course, Neptune, nowhere near Aries. If you want to see my Lie in the Sky video that I just did, the live stream, check that out because we talk about what this means and why it matters. Because, Neptune's an outer planet and this is the equinox point for the sun. So I don't know that calling Neptune an Aryan energy right now is appropriate because it's not solar. It's at the edge of the solar system and it's actually sitting right here. So that video, we'd go into that quite a bit. But that's the astrology we're doing. Astrology and astronomy as one sacred science. And it stuns me how strange people think that is sometimes. I'm just blown away. Like, really? You don't think that this is, the best way to do astrology? This is just my opinion. There's many others that feel the same way. So I offer you this astrology based on the real sky. Check it out. See if it resonates. So here we have a Cancer moon. And it's a Cancer moon. It's not a Leo moon, not yet, maybe in a few hours. But during this full moon, this is a Cancer moon. And Cancer is actually the dimmest part of our sky. If you take out these constellations, you can't even see it. Can't even see it. But if we take out the landscape, we can certainly see the stars of Leo over here if we look for them. They're right here. One of these days, I'll do an astronomy thing with you guys, but there's Leo. So you see the moon is not there yet, not on the 1st. Of course, this is the peak of the lunar cycle, the full moon. So if you think of waves of energy or waves of water, the peak of the wave is the full moon, which is why I mentioned at the beginning of the video that you really want to understand your cycles at the beginning when they're new, when they're fresh. So that new moon video ties into what we're exploring in this full moon video. Cancer is about home. Cancer is about mother energy. It's nurturing, it's empathetic, it's intuitive, it's emotional. The moon's also emotional. The moon rules Cancer in the traditional Chaldean order. So this is a very powerful moon for anybody with Cancer suns, Cancer moons, Cancer rising, Cancer on your angles even. You want to see where Cancer is in your chart, and we'll do that with the rising signs. You'll know exactly which house Cancer and the moon are in for you. Now, what the moon does on a full moon is it swells the solar energy that it picked up at the beginning of the lunar cycle. So if we look over here across the sky to where the sun is, once again, we're going to be a little disoriented if we're used to following tropical or Vedic astrology, because we're not used to looking at the sky for our astrology, which again is just strange and stunning to me. The new moon began here next to Pluto in Sagittarius. Well, Pluto's not in Sagittarius, but the last new moon was. So let's go back a little bit. I just want to show you where that new moon was. So this is the beginning of the cycle that we're considering right now. Everything was graduating from Sagittarius into Capricorn. It's been just one cycle reset after the other. On this, we had the new year. Then on the 6th of January, we had Venus and Sun together. Then we had Mercury and Sun together on the 21st. Sun and Mars together on the 24th. It's just one right after the other of these longer cycles that are reset, and including the new moon. And so what we're witnessing on the 1st of February is the culmination of this graduation energy of this cycle. Capricorn. Capricorn's very misunderstood. It's actually really special energy. It's ruled by Saturn. And Saturn, as a ruler, his path to enlightenment is realizing he built his own prisons. And so our lessons with Saturn is to take responsibility, to live in integrity. And it's not just about striving. Although Capricorn is about achievement and striving and becoming something better than yourself, but it's deeper than that. It's a switch inside of you somewhere where all of a sudden it's not hard, right? I often tell the story of the Capricorn, the goatfish, as the fish swimming in the sea with no aim, no goal, no place to go, and no plan. And then all of a sudden, the fish looks above the water and sees a shining divine light at the top of the mountain, beyond the water, beyond the shore, and begins to physically change itself into something that can traverse that terrain. And that's the power of Capricorn and the divine inspiration, is that you can manifest, you can change, you can do anything, but you can't fight it either. So it's this whole energy of just not fighting it anymore, just surrendering, just letting the energy wash over you, come what may, right? A lot of intensity, especially, because we have Mars here, we have Pluto here, we have Sun here, we have Venus here, we have Mercury, we have Venus, all of this in one spot. Mercury and Venus are together. And when Mercury and Venus are together, it's like the right and left side of your brain are working together. You've got the left side of the brain, which is Mercury, which is analytical, which is reading the ingredients, which is assessing the value, weighing it, doing all the things to make sure you really understand something. And Venus just wants to feel it and sense it and to experience it. So we have knowledge and experience right here. When these two get together, imagine, the genius energy where you've got a surgeon and a saxophone player, or a rocket scientist and a piano player. Just those two energies together, we're just this level of genius. And so we're all getting blessed by that, especially in Capricorn. We're getting all kinds of great ideas on what we can do and how to manifest. And then, of course, Mars and Pluto just recently having their connection. This is a 780-year cycle. So feeling action, feeling catharsis, feeling the squeeze so that the pressure can be released. It's all this theme right here. So it's been pressure, building. And I think finally there's a catharsis here. There's a letting go. I think if we've been grasping too hard on something, we may feel a purge this month. We may feel purging energy, which is for you, not against you. So that's your real sky on the 1st. Let's go ahead and actually look at a chart. And remember, guys, this red line, this is the sun's ecliptic. And the sun travels through these constellations, which is why we care about Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. Now, maybe the sun hasn't always moved along this ecliptic, but it does now. And that we are a sun worshiping collective, are we not? I mean, we base our day on it. We base our night on it. We base our lives upon it. And it follows this red line. So when we look at it, an actual astrological chart, what you'll notice is that this circle that we're cutting out is the two-dimensional representation of this three-dimensional stellosphere that you're staring at. Let's look at it. All right, friends, the February 2026 full moon, you're no longer fighting it. And I think this picture really speaks to the energy of this moon. It's where we've been through so many cycle resets, and we've been meeting resistance, or we've been meeting pressure, or we've been feeling the grasping. And it's been so much that we just can't anymore. We're just letting go. It's the kind of letting go that isn't by choice. It's almost like you have to do it. If you don't, you're going to end up having to purge something. And if you do, you're going to find a lot more ease and joy in the coming weeks and months, especially as this eclipse approaches. Because you want your mind and your heart to be in the right place when you have a lunar and solar eclipse, that they're unexpected energies. And the best thing to do through those portals is to, literally let go and surrender. And so that's where we find ourselves. Here's the chart I'm talking about. So remember, we just looked at that circle in the sky in Stellarium. This is what we are looking at. This is that two-dimensional slice through the three-dimensional stellosphere. This is where that red line was across the sky. And here you can see the moon in sign Cancer, Jupiter in Gemini, Uranus in Taurus, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and this Capricorn stellium. And so that's what we're working with. And we've got a lot of really long-term stable energies that have absolutely been supporting us as we've moved through these energies. And I'll just point this out again for those of you that are new. This has been going on for months, the three things that I'm circling right now, as well as the Black Moon Lilith energy. So you see how it's forming, like half the chart is all sextiles. And then, of course, the trines between Uranus and Pluto, that's still there, even though it doesn't show up on this chart. It's still there. Uranus is going to go direct in about 2 days after this full moon. And so it will, again, pick up the trine with Pluto. But this whole structure, this whole architecture has been very, very supportive for our collective in terms of its karmic destiny, in terms of... And what I mean by that is I have seen things that have just come full circle so quickly. It's almost as if time doesn't even exist anymore when it comes to being false, having discernment, karma, turning around. So if you come at something that's pure and wholesome and aligned with source, if you come at that energy with some kind of bad intent, right? Like you want to lie to it, you want to possess it, you want to steal it, you want to own it, karma's going to flip right back on you really quickly right now. It's very, very interesting. So if you're feeling that, if you notice that you're meeting resistance in your endeavors, check back in with yourself as to what the intent is, because the OGs are watching. You have Uranus in a sextile to Neptune, and Saturn's involved. So this is surrendering to the metamorphosis. This is allowing the unknown to become known through the body, through physicality, through the nervous system. This conjunction between Saturn and Neptune is spiritual structure, integrity, something to grab onto in the void. And the sextile back to Pluto is surrendering to the transformation. And so we have transformational metamorphosis, divine rebellion, powerful revolution here. The trine between Pluto and Uranus, and the sextile back to Saturn and Neptune. And it feels all faded because you really can't move these planets. It's for all of us. They're like the personal planets of our collective. And all the personal planets, especially during this lunation, have been in contact with all of these bodies in one form or fashion in aspect. And I really like that Black Moon Lilith is down here in Scorpio, opposing Uranus. Black Moon Lilith is often thought of as the side of ourselves that we banish because it's either inappropriate or it's too powerful or it's destructive in some ways. And so we push it aside, we banish it, we force it to the fringe. And it's not something that can stay suppressed forever. It eventually bubbles up in unexpected ways, in ways that can be very harmful, unless it is recognized and appreciated. And with Uranus looking at it from across the chart, it's almost as if there is no judgment here. Like, let those dark layers show themselves. Uranus has got you. Uranus is not going to judge you, and neither is Pluto. Pluto's clearing the space for your ultimate creativity and power. This is creation without seed. This is creation before destruction. This is the creation that happens after destruction. This is the space between breaths, the quantum foam, the void, chaos. And it's a part of all of us. And Uranus is looking across saying, let's see it. And you're supported here by these outer planets, which I think is really, really amazing. And then it's all of this energy in Capricorn, right? So you got Mars, your divine will, the sun, the highest expression of your spiritual self. And then, of course, Venus and Mercury together with the genius mind, all with the desire and the obsession to achieve, to make a difference, to make your mark in the world. But the moon is just telling you to let it be. Don't worry about it. What's meant to be will be. It will happen. It will come. All right. So some other interesting aspects, of course, whenever we're thinking about a lunar energy, we want to look at the lunar nodes. But again, just like with the new moon, the lunar nodes are not really being aspected with the exception of Black Moon Lilith. She's in a square. This is always a karmic tension. Whenever the nodes have a square on them, they'll have a square on one side and a square on the other. And that's called being in the bends. And so there's this suppressed creative power within all of us that we are being challenged to express and to bring out into the world. And the challenge is it from performance, which is Leo, or is it for the good of the collective? Which is it? Are you inspiring or are you hoping you'll be seen? Which one is it? Either one is fine. You just need to know that. You need to come from that place of authenticity. Like, yeah, maybe I do want to just be seen. Maybe I do want love and adoration. As long as that's something that can be admitted, understood, integrated, then of course it's going to be for the benefit of all, because others will see you go through that process, right? Others will see you. So there's that square. That's going to be a big one for all of us. So we'll talk about that as we go through your rising signs. Black Moon Lilith is, so she's sextile to Pluto, trying to Neptune and Saturn. And this means that this is also a lot more acceptable, right? Things that you never thought could be acceptable before are now being accepted here in this Pisces energies with Saturn. Saturn's discovering things about Neptune he never knew. And of course, Uranus is supporting it, Pluto's supporting it. So a lot of really supportive energy, with the exception of the nodes. You just have to ask yourself, what's your role in this? And as long as the answer is truthful, I think you're going to be fine either way. However you judge it, as long as it's truthful. Chiron's the other player here. So Chiron and Jupiter in a square. This has been with us for a couple of months now. And I think this is challenging beliefs. That's what I think. At least beliefs about yourself, spiritual beliefs about yourself. Challenge them. Why do you believe what you believe? Does it make sense? Is it aligned with your pain, or is it aligned with your greatness? Because if you believe something because you were hurt, you're not going to change anything. Your patterns are going to stay exactly the same. But if you can expand into that greatness and really see that hurt and say, okay, that's not really something that needs to be, watered, nurtured anymore. We're just going to accept it as it is what it is. I'm flawed. I'm not perfect. And expand into that and understand that there's a level of understanding here that's very important. Chiron sextile to Venus and Mercury together. So there's an opportunity here to have some really deep conversations with source, with a confidant, with someone you really trust, someone that can expand your mind, that can challenge your beliefs about yourself and really open you up to reaching your highest potential. So I believe that's everybody. We have a couple of quincunxes, but they basically just kind of support the story. All right, so that's the sky in general. Let's go ahead and I just need to tell you about some amazing things. These are my announcements, the announcement section before we get into your rising signs. So I want to just thank all the channel members for supporting my work and the updates about the sky. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If your name's not on here, I'm sorry. I'm still sending love to you. And I appreciate you joining. You are the elite, my friends. Also, Stellar Foundations, we start on February 9th of 2026. That is 2 Mondays away. So I hope to see some of your beautiful faces starting this round with us. We will not be doing open enrollment again until like July or August. So if you want a seat in this amazing program, please reach out to me. Please sign up. Links are below. The next thing is Yoni Magic, the Venus and Lilith journey. We're taking the rising evening star phase of Venus all the way to October 23rd with a scheduled curriculum on rising the Kundalini energy through the dark moons. If you're interested in learning how to do that, or perhaps interested in attending our retreat, please check out this link as well. And then I want you to find your rising sign. So let's talk about how to do that. The real sky awaits you. There's no crazy new system you have to learn. You just have to reorient your vision. And this isn't as easy as it sounds. Before we get to that, though, really quick, I just wanted to lay out for you how to connect. If you're new to the channel, if you like this work, if you want to go deeper with us, like the channel, subscribe, share this content with people that you know might be willing to think of astrology in a different way, and join us on Facebook on the Fellowship of 13 Signs. That's our Facebook group where you can go and meet other astrologers. If you want to get a reading, they're all over there. You can join our channel for $6.99 a month, cancel anytime. We have a meeting once a month where we get on a private Zoom call and discuss everything that's going on astrologically. We get into our personal stories sometimes. And then also you guys get exclusive and first look content. So if you want to jump in a little deeper and join the channel, there you go. You can get a reading. You can take a course. You can buy the 13th sign, Ophiuchus, in the astrology they don't want you to see that we published last year. And again, birth time is essential if you want the accurate rising sign reading. But like I said, if you don't know your birth time, if there's a planet you identify, you can use that as your ascendant. Or if you know your sun sign in True Sky, you can use that and click to the link below. So you can go to stellarium-web.org like I did at the beginning of this presentation and change the time and date to your birthday and time. Look in the eastern sky. What's rising? Take away the atmosphere, take away the landscape, throw in the constellations, and you'll see it. You'll see it with your own eyes. You can also go to drdanny.com for a chart. This is powered by Mastering the Zodiac. You just put in your details and look on the left side of the chart right here where you see AS or ASC. And for this particular example, it's Aries. Aries is the rising sign. So the ruler of Aries is Mars. Mars rules this chart. So if somebody has Aries rising, they'll need to click on the Aries rising link below. Now, the rising constellation in the true sky or real sky astrology may be different than your tropical placements. This is a real disresonance that's going on. And it's one of the reasons why I tirelessly work to bring you this astrology, because Tropicals got it wrong. They're telling you Neptune's in Aries right now, and it's not. It's at the equinox point, sure. But again, I don't know that Neptune really resonates with the sun in that way. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's get into it. The real sky awaits you. Full moon by rising sign, and we will start with Cancer. All right, beautiful Cancer rising. So again, we opened this video. You're the star of this lunation because the full moon's in Cancer. The moon rules Cancer. It's the Cancer Capricorn axis going on here. So you are the star of this reading. And for you guys, this is going to show up as a body thing. You're going to feel awake in your body. Emotions are immediate and they are informative. You are aware of yourself in real time, not just through memory, but also through sensation. So how you feel physically matters, and you really cannot override that for the sake of harmony during this full moon. So the entire Capricorn stellium is illuminating your 7th house. Relationships, contracts, clients, partners, and agreements are fully lit for you. Not about romance, but about how you meet others while standing in your own authority. So how much have you matured in your relationships? Have you noticed that the dynamics which once pulled you into overgiving, emotional contraction, they no longer have the same grip on you anymore? You're no longer fighting. Friction will rise, but it's not going to destabilize you anymore. You will remain present with yourself while staying engaged. The lunar nodes in the 1st and 7th also are a signature onto your relationship energy. So reflexive self-protection, emotional armor, defining yourself through what you carry for others is loosening for you because you're letting go. You can't hold it anymore. Conscious partnership, not sacrifice. Learn how to meet others without abandoning yourself. This Black Moon Lilith square to your lunar nodes in your 4th house brings deep instinctive truth up from the roots of your soul. There's something about home, family, emotional inheritance, or early conditioning of your heart that surface early. It's a recognition. You understand where certain emotional responses come from, and that actually frees you from repeating them unconsciously. And then you have Uranus in the 10th, and this is an external shift for you. Your public role, visibility, sense of direction in the world may change suddenly or subtly. What matters is that your inner alignment holds steady. You don't have to perform certainty. Authentic presence carries the authority now. And also we have Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house, bringing maturity to shared resources, emotional entanglements, and energetic exchanges. Boundaries clarify what you're responsible for and what you are not responsible for. Sensitivity deepens without confusion, and you can feel again without absorbing what's not yours. Chiron in the 9th reveals a quiet healing around belief, meaning, or trust in the larger story of your life. Here's what you look for. You look for old wounds around faith, truth, or direction. And you might realize you no longer need answers the way they were once presented to you. Wisdom is personal and embodied rather than conceptual. And I see a lot of conversations for you to sort that out. Jupiter in your 12th supports integration beneath the surface. Insight arises through rest, reflection, and solitude. And there is protection here. Things resolve quietly. You're not meant to push this full moon, Cancer rising. You're meant to notice how much less effort it takes to actually remain centered. So for Cancer rising, this full moon feels like standing in yourself while staying in relationship. And the world still may press you. Conversations will still matter and responsibilities will still exist. But what has changed is your internal posture. You don't have to disappear and you don't have to harden. You remain present, responsive, and whole. Cancer rising. All right. Hello, beautiful, busy Gemini rising. Mercury rules your chart, and Mercury is connected to Venus in your 8th house right now. So this is a 2nd and 8th house axis for you, Gemini rising. You really need to lean into transformation, power, wealth, merging, exchange. If you lean into that during this full moon, just let that wash over you. That's really all you need to know. But let's get into the deeper meanings here. So the moon will illuminate value, resources, self-worth, and the way safety is created in the material and emotional sense. Remember, the moon is emotions. You become aware of what actually supports you, and your body will give you clear feedback about what feels sustaining and what feels draining. This Capricorn stellium over here is 7th, 8th house energy, so it's a recalibration around money, energy, intimacy, and obligation. You're going to realize that something you thought you needed to manage no longer requires the same level of effort, and there is a relief in seeing this clearly. The South Node is also in your 2nd house with your North Node in the 8th house. So this highlights old self-worth patterns. These can include over-reliance on personal effort, proving value by being productive or holding tightly to what you control. The North Node in the 8th house invites trust in shared systems, mutual exchange, and interdependence that does not cost you your autonomy. Here we have Black Moon Lilith squaring your lunar nodes. In the 5th house, bringing instinctive truth through creativity, desire, and expression. There's something about joy, pleasure, or authentic self-expression that refuses to be muted for you this month. It's about allowing what feels alive to take up space without even having to justify it. You have Uranus in your 11th house, adding an element of surprise around community, friendships, or long-term goals. Your relationships to groups or collective spaces may shift. And what matters is that your internal sense of value remains intact even as outer alliances reorganize. Saturn and Neptune in your 9th house bring maturity to belief systems and long-range vision. Faith becomes grounded, ideals gain structure, and you may find that your understanding of truth feels quieter, less urgent, and more embodied. You no longer need to convince anyone of what you know, Gemini rising, and that's weird for you. Chiron in your 10th house reveals healing around visibility, authority, or public role. You may recognize how much pressure you once placed on yourself to be understood or respected. And under this full moon, there is softening. Competence does not require strain. The conversations between your Chiron and Venus and Mercury will have real depth around how you show up in the world. Jupiter in your 1st house, Gemini rising, be careful. You can gain a lot of weight when Jupiter moves through your 1st house, but it supports inner expansion. Confidence rebuilds from within rather than through validation. You're going to feel a lot more spacious in your body and more at ease with who you are becoming, even if the external story is still unfolding. And so Gemini rising, this full moon feels like a quiet rebalancing of power and value. You notice that you're less reactive around resources and more discerning about what you give your energy to. Now, don't get me wrong, friction will still appear, conversations still matter, but what has changed is your center of gravity. You trust yourself more. You hold everything else less tightly and you allow exchange. You see? So that is your full moon, Gemini rising. Lovely, sensual, earthy Taurus rising. Venus rules your chart. I am a Taurus rising, so I will be speaking as a we. Having your chart, our chart ruler conjunct Mercury right now in Capricorn is an amazing blessing. You're seeing the bigger picture right now, Taurus rising. It's a flow state through truth in your relationships. So what's changing for us is how we meet the world, especially through conversation and relationships. So the moon in Cancer is in our 3rd house, heightening awareness of thought patterns, communication, and nervous system rhythm. We notice how words land in the body. We become more selective about what we engage with mentally. There's less tolerance for noise, more appreciation for the clarity and the tone of what's being understood. And opposite the moon, in our 9th house, the sun and moon illuminate Capricorn, bringing lived wisdom into focus. Our worldview is potentially shifting here. It started off in our 8th house and has moved into our 9th house. What we believe is no longer theoretical. It's literally embodied. We do not feel the need to explain it, and it informs our choices quietly and consistently. This full moon is going to feel like an internal click, like something finally gives way, and it's going to feel good. Having this matured perspective is trust. We trust it. We move forward without having to narrate every step. The South Node in our fourth house loosens old emotional reflexes tied to family, history, or inherited patterns. We are shaped less by where we come from. And the North Node in our 10th draws us toward visible authorship. We feel more comfortable being seen in our authority without overcompensating. Saturn and Neptune in the 10th deepen this maturity. Our role, our public work, our calling carries both discipline and intuition. And we don't need to force any directions. We simply need to allow it to take shape. We want responsibility to feel aligned rather than heavy or something we have to do. And then, of course, we have Black Moon Lilith in our 7th, squaring the lunar nodes. And so the key is refinement here. Relationships come from the mirror of truth. We are no longer willing to contort ourselves to maintain harmony. Power dynamics will absolutely surface cleanly. Desire, honesty, and boundary meet each other without apology. We notice where we've been accommodating at our own expense, and we stop doing that. But it's not a rupture. It's more like, oh, now I see it. It's a clarity. The interactions that you have with people will feel more real. And what remains is mutual. What cannot meet us honestly begins to fall away on its own. It's really that simple. Uranus in the 12th continues to work quietly beneath the surface. Old subconscious patterns release without drama. Insights arrive unexpectedly, often in moments of stillness. And we don't rush to act. We let the integration happen naturally. Chiron in the 11th house softens wounds around belonging and future vision. We feel less pressure to fit into collective expectations. Our role among others clarifies, and that clarity brings relief. Jupiter retrograde in our 2nd house supports a recalibration of value. We recognize what truly sustains us, materially and energetically. Growth turns inward, confidence becomes steadier and less performative. So for you, Taurus rising, for us, this full moon feels like a flow state in relationship. Don't get me wrong, your friction will still appear, but it doesn't hook you in like it used to. Conversations still matter, but they don't drain us anymore. And we stay in ourselves while engaging with others. We speak clearly, we listen selectively, and we remain grounded in who we are becoming. Taurus rising. Hello, Aries rising. Mars is your chart ruler, and Mars has just completed its every 780-day conjunction with Pluto. So a very cathartic, very purging moment for you this month, Aries, as your chart ruler also squares your ascendant. The moon is working through the axis of home and visibility, right? So we have the moon here in your 4th house and the sun in your 10th house. So work, responsibility, emotional needs, all surfacing. There's an increased awareness of what supports you at the foundational level and what quietly drains you. So this can show up, Aries rising, through family dynamics, living situations, or the simple need for rest and containment. You will recognize where you need to feel safe in order to remain steady in the world. So you might feel seen or recognized in ways that carry weight. It might not even be that comfortable, but the expectations here are clear and the direction is clearly defined. So what matters now is how you hold this visibility without abandoning your inner needs. The full moon will highlight this relationship between the emotional grounding and the external authority. You may notice that when your inner world is tended, your outward presence becomes more composed and effective. You do not need to push to be taken seriously here, Aries rising. Stability speaks for itself, so really lean into that moon energy. The South Node's in your 5th house, loosening patterns around performance, self-expression, or the need to be special in order to be valued. And the North Node in your 11th house draws you toward collective contribution and shared vision. You're moving away from proving yourself and towards participating in something larger without losing your own individuality. Here you have Black Moon Lilith right here on the cusp of your 7th and 8th house, bringing honesty into relationships. The power dynamics you've been working under will surface quite clearly on this full moon. And like I said, it's either going to be a purge or a catharsis. You'll become aware of where you've been accommodating or managing others at your own expense. This full moon supports clean boundaries and mutual engagement. Relationships that are aligned will feel steadier, and those that rely on imbalance will reveal themselves to you. And it will be very simple. Uranus in your first house continues a process of personal awakening. Aries rising, your identity is shifting from the inside out. And if you feel less predictable, more erratic, but also authentic at the same time, this is the evidence. And the change that's going on within you doesn't necessarily need to be announced right now. It's evident in how you move and respond. Saturn and Neptune in your 11th bring maturity to friendships, communities, and long-term goals. You see more clearly who belongs in your future and what kind of collaborations are sustainable and ideal. Chiron in your 12th reveals quiet healing around old and unseen wounds. Patterns that once operated unconsciously will begin to loosen, and it's through this public space. You may notice increased compassion for yourself, where there was once just judgment. Rest and solitude support this process. Jupiter, in your 3rd house, turns growth inward through reflection, conversation, and learning. And insight comes through listening just as much as speaking. You may also find that your words carry way more impact when they are simple and well-timed. So for Aries rising, this full moon feels like a recalibration between inner safety and outer authority. Now, don't get me wrong, pressure may still exist, but it does not override your center, you see. You will meet the responsibility without bracing, and you respond rather than react. So Aries rising, stay grounded, stay visible, and remain connected to yourself while standing in the world. Intuitive, compassionate, and sweet Pisces rising. Jupiter is your chart ruler in the traditional systems. In the modern systems, it's Neptune, and Neptune happens to be right there on your ascendant. So for Pisces rising, this full moon works through a deeply felt, but very quietly orienting axis. What illuminates now for you doesn't demand response. It invites recognition. So as the moon moves through your 5th house, it awakens creative vitality, emotional expression, and the desire to feel alive in what you're doing. It's not about simple performance. It is about resonance. You become aware of what genuinely brings you joy and what feels forced or performative. There's a return to pleasure that is simple, embodied, and honest. And opposite the moon in Capricorn in your 10th and 11th house is the stellium. Long-term goals, community involvement, and collective direction come into focus. You may notice shifts in how you relate to groups, audiences, or shared visions. What matters now is whether these spaces support your creative life force or quietly siphon it away. This full moon also reveals how creativity and contribution must stay in relationship. When joy is present, participation feels natural. When it's absent, obligation becomes heavy, and you gain clarity around your energy is meant to circulate and where it's ready to withdraw. And that's okay. 6th house South Node and a 12th house North Node. Old habits over service, over giving, over defining worth through usefulness. North Node in your 12th house invites restoration through retreat, solitude, and trust in unseen processes. You are not meant to be constantly available, and inner alignment requires space. Neptune and Saturn in your 12th house deepen this invitation. Boundaries around rest, spiritual hygiene, and emotional permeability become very clear. Your sensitivity remains, but it gains structure. You can feel deeply without absorbing everything around you. And this is a maturation of intuition. Black Moon Lilith in your 8th house squaring the lunar nodes brings instinctive truth into intimate and energetic exchanges. Power dynamics surface quietly. You may become aware of where you've been sharing too much, carrying the emotional weight that's not yours, or entangling yourself out of obligation rather than desire. This awareness arrives without drama. It simply changes how you engage. Uranus in your 2nd house continues a redefinition of value. So material stability, self-worth, and resources are going to shift in unexpected ways. And you may find that what once felt secure no longer holds the same meaning, while something previously overlooked becomes essential. And so the flexibility here creates that freedom for you. Chiron in the 1st house highlights healing around identity and self-perception. Old wounds around being seen, misunderstood, or carrying too much sensitivity soften. You'll feel comfortable inhabiting yourself as you are without needing to translate or justify your experience. Jupiter in your 4th house supports inner expansion through the home, roots, and emotional grounding, and growth will turn inward here. There's nourishment available through quiet time, familiar spaces, and connecting to what feels like home. Insight comes through stillness rather than motion. So for Pisces rising, this full moon feels like permission to recalibrate how much you give and where your joy lives. The world may still ask, the collective may still call. Don't get me wrong, what pulls you is still there. But what's changed is your ability to feel where your energy belongs. You create without pressure, you participate without depletion, and you retreat without guilt. This is sovereignty, expressed through sensitivity that knows its limits. Pisces rising. Hello, Aquarius rising. Your traditional chart ruler is Saturn, but you can also use Uranus in the modern interpretation as your chart ruler. It's your choice. This is authority, withdrawal, and reclaiming the self. All of this is kind of happening under the surface for you, Aquarius rising. This full moon is decisive. The moon in Cancer is moving through your 6th house, bringing attention to daily rhythm, health, work patterns, and the way your nervous system responds to obligation. You become more aware of how your body carries this responsibility, and subtle signals matter. So look out for fatigue, sensitivity, and emotional feedback. All of that offers guidance about what is sustainable and what quietly erodes your energy. Opposite the moon, sun, and the Capricorn stellium illuminate your 12th house. This is a powerful placement for closure, retreat, and inner organization. Something is completing for you. You might feel a natural pull away from external demands as a preparation for integration. This full moon feels like a stepping back without actually disengaging. In other words, Aquarius, you're still present and still aware, but less available for the noise. There's a clarity about what needs to be finished privately before you begin a new chapter. The South Node in your 7th releases old relational patterns that have defined you through others. There's less tolerance for compromise that costs you your center. The North Node in your 1st house draws you towards self-authorship. You are learning to stand in your own presence without needing reflection or permission. Neptune and Saturn are also in your 1st house, deepening the whole process. The identity becomes both more defined and more compassionate. So where you once had rigid boundaries, you now soften a bit and you firm up where other places were diffuse and draining. And you're consolidating. Black Moon Lilith squares these lunar nodes from your 10th house, bringing instinctive truth into your own visibility, reputation, and authority. You may become aware of where you've been managing perception or muting power to maintain control. This full moon supports honest expression of authority that does not rely on approval. You do not need to perform leadership. Your presence carries weight. Uranus in your 3rd house continues to rewire thought patterns and communication. Insights will arrive suddenly for you this month. Your way of thinking becomes less predictable and more authentic. Conversations will take unexpected turns, but they reveal truth rather than create disruption. And Chiron in your 2nd house highlights healing around self-worth and value. You see, old wounds related to security or compensation will soften. You're going to recognize that your worth is not up for negotiation, even as circumstances continue to evolve. And having Jupiter in your 5th house supports inner expansion through creativity and joy. And growth here turns inward as well. Pleasure becomes quieter, more intentional, and more nourishing. You are reminded that creativity does not need an audience to be real. So Aquarius rising, for this full moon, reclaim yourself through withdrawal and discernment. You won't disappear. You choose where your energy goes. Your work continues, your relationships remain, the world does not stop. What changes is your availability to what no longer aligns. So conserve your energy, complete what needs completion, and stand more fully in yourself without explanation, Aquarius rising. Capricorn rising, Saturn rules your chart. And you have this full moon right on your descendant and the entire Capricorn stellium on your ascendant. So this is a big lunation for you. Whenever the moon lines up on your cardinal axes, it's a big deal. It's personal, it's relational, and it's a defining moment for you. So with all this energy on the ascendant, this is embodiment, identity, presence, and authorship. It's all fully coming online for you this month, Capricorn rising. You are not becoming something new here. You are occupying yourself completely and wholly. Over here with the moon and Cancer on your descendant, relationships for you become the mirror. Other people will reflect back how much you have changed. Emotional responses from partners, from clients, or close others reveal where your center now holds steady. Don't get me wrong, this is not pulling you into conflict. It's clarifying contrast. And you can see the difference between who you are now and how you used to meet others. The South Node is in your 7th house and the North Node is in your 1st house. So you're releasing old patterns of defining yourself through relationship, over accommodation, silent compromise, carrying responsibility. These reflexes are all going to loosen naturally. The North Node calls you forward into unapologetic self-authorship. You do not need agreement to stand where you are. You do not need reflection to confirm your identity. Presence is sufficient. Now you have Black Moon Lilith here in your 10th house, adding a powerful layer of visibility. Authority becomes instinctive rather than managed. You may feel less inclined to soften your power to maintain control. This isn't creating disruption, though. It creates the clarity. Your public role, leadership, reputation, it aligns more closely with your truth now. Uranus in your 4th house continues to reorganize foundations beneath the surface. Home, family patterns, or emotional roots shift quickly. What once felt stable may feel less relevant. What once felt unfamiliar may begin to feel like home, and you adjust without the drama. Saturn and Neptune in your 2nd house bring maturity to value resources and your self-worth. Security here becomes both practical and intuitive. You need to trust what you are building. You also trust when to conserve energy. Material and emotional value are aligning at the same time here. Chiron in your 3rd house reveals healing through communication. Old wounds around being misunderstood, heard, or taken seriously soften. You will notice that you explain less and say more. Words land because they are grounded in lived authority, you see. Jupiter in your 6th house supports internal recalibration around work, health, and your daily rhythm. And growth comes from refinement rather than expansion. You're way more selective now about how you spend your time and your energy and your money. So for Capricorn rising, this full moon feels like standing in yourself while being seen clearly by others. Relationship no longer pulls you off center, and visibility no longer requires effort. You meet the world without armor. You engage without shrinking, and you lead without needing opposition. This is sovereignty that does not need to announce itself. It is simply occupied, Capricorn rising. Hello, Sagittarius rising. Jupiter rules your chart, and it is across the way from your ascendant right now, retrograde in Gemini. This full moon axis is an 8th and 2nd house axis. Worth, trust, and the release of old attachments. So this is the axis of value and entanglement. Everything that's revealed to you this month isn't surface level. It goes to the absolute core of what you rely on, what you share, and what you're finally ready to release. All of this energy in your 2nd house, along with the North Node, or at least it's moving into your 2nd house at some point, if it brings focus to your self-worth, to your resources, stability, and what you are building in tangible terms. There's a clarity that is swelling around you and what you and truly supports you. You are learning to trust your capacity to provide for yourself emotionally, materially, and without outsourcing your own security. The moon will illuminate shared resources, emotional bonds, and energetic agreements. This is where attachments are felt. You'll become very aware of where you've been holding out based on habit, loyalty, or fear, rather than genuine resonance. And this awareness arrives quietly, but it's unmistakable. So your moment of release will be a softening, a bond breaking, an obligation that no longer grips you in the same way. And it doesn't need to be dramatized, really. You will simply recognize that you're no longer bound in the way you once were. Saturn and Neptune in your 3rd house mature your thinking and communication. You're going to speak with more care. You're going to listen more closely, and intuition will guide how and when you share information. Words will feel deliberate and grounded, coming from you, Sagittarius rising. Chiron in your 4th house brings gentle healing to the emotional roots and the family narratives that are running in the background. So the old wounds around safety, belonging, or early conditioning slip away, soften. You'll recognize how much your sense of home has evolved and how that evolution supports your current stability. Uranus in your 5th continues to awaken creativity and joy, and expression feels freer. You're going to feel more willing to take risks around pleasure, play, or authentic self-expression. And whatever feels alive now is asking to be honored in that way. Jupiter in your 7th expands awareness through partnership. Others will act as mirrors, reflecting how much you have grown. Partnerships will offer opportunity, but only where there is mutual respect and you are less inclined to overextend. South Node in your 9th house releases old belief systems and narratives that once shaped your identity. You no longer need to define yourself through ideology, certainty, or being the one who knows everything. Wisdom is now practical and embodied. Black Moon Lilith in your 11th house is squaring the lunar nodes. So it's instinctive truth into your community and collective spaces. You become aware of where you have compromised your truth in order to belong. And this full moon supports alignment with groups that genuinely resonate and quiet withdrawal from those that do not. So for you, Sag rising, this full moon is reclaiming your center of gravity. You trust yourself more. You release what no longer needs to be carried, and you build stability without clinging. Now, don't get me wrong, friction will still appear, but it does not entangle you the way it did before. So the sovereignty energy of this moon is expressed for you through discernment and release. Mysterious Scorpio and Ophiuchus rising, you all are lumped together because you share the same space in the sky. Now, who your chart ruler is as mysterious as you are. So your options are Mars in the traditional sense. You can go with Pluto for Scorpio, Chiron for Ophiuchus, and some use Jupiter if your galactic center is right here on the AC. So you will remain mysterious in my eyes, but it doesn't matter because everything's touching everything anyway in this chart for this full moon. This moon for you guys is working through the axis of understanding and truth, right? It's through the 3rd and 9th house. The moon in Cancer travels through that ninth house, lighting up your belief systems, your lived wisdom, your perspective, and the stories you tell yourself about where you're going. This is philosophy. It's embodied knowing. You're going to feel a quiet certainty about what is true for you, even if it cannot be articulated cleanly. Opposite the moon, sun and everything else here is in your second and third house, along with the North Node moving into your third house. So this is emphasizing growth through clear, grounded expression. Communication, perception, and daily exchanges come into focus. And the way that you speak, write, think, and share information carries more weight than ever. You're going to notice that your words land differently now, not because you're trying to persuade, but because they're rooted in lived experience. The South Node in your ninth is releasing old attachments to those belief systems that no longer need defending. And you don't have to carry the role of the teacher, the guide, or the knower the way you once did. Meaning becomes more personal rather than performative. Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house bring maturity to your emotional foundations. Home, family, and inner security reorganize very quietly. Boundaries around emotional availability become clearer, and sensitivity deepens without destabilizing you. You're going to feel more rooted even as the outer narratives shift. Chiron in your fifth house reveals healing around creative expression and joy and the right to take up space playfully. Old wounds around being seen or sharing your gifts soften. You're going to feel more willing to express yourself without overthinking. Uranus in your sixth house continues to bring change to daily rhythms, work patterns, and health, paradoxical reactions to the physical world. Adjustments may feel sudden, but they will ultimately support greater freedom and alignment. You will respond more intuitively to what your body and schedule require. Jupiter in your eighth expands awareness around those shared resources, emotional depth, and the concept of intimacy. Trust will grow where exchange is mutual. You will gain insight into how much support is actually available when you allow for true collaboration. Black Moon Lilith in your 12th house squaring these lunar nodes adds powerful undercurrent to all of this. This is unconscious truths, instinctive awareness emerging through dreams, solitude, or moments of withdrawal. It's a reclamation. You will understand something privately that changes how you move publicly. So for you guys, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, this full moon feels like a reorientation of meaning. You let go of narratives that once defined you and allow truth to circulate in simple and more immediate ways. You speak less, but with more impact. You believe without needing certainty. And you move forward guided by lived knowing rather than ideology. Now, don't get me wrong. Scorpio and Ophiuchus friction will still arise, but it no longer entangles you in those old stories, right? You witness it, you integrate it, and you continue. And this is sovereignty expressed through quiet clarity and inner authority. Hello, Libra rising. Venus is your chart ruler in the traditional and modern systems. I like Mercury as a co-ruler for Libra as well, and it really doesn't matter because both Venus and Mercury are conjunct during this full moon and in your fourth house in Capricorn. So let's talk about this. This is all about inner foundation, outer visibility, and the reclaiming of the self. So the home and visibility, inner grounding and outer responsibility. The moon in Cancer moves through your 10th house, illuminating that public role, your reputation, how you're seen in the world. You may become more emotionally aware of your visibility, your responsibilities, or the expectations that are placed upon you. This isn't really pressure for its own sake. It's just information, right? So you see clearly how your emotional state interacts with your public life. And opposite the moon, the sun in Capricorn activates your fourth house. Alongside the North Node, attention turns inward, home, roots, emotional safety, inner stability. They all come into full focus here. This is revealing how essential it is to feel grounded internally in order to sustain what you carry externally. The North Node in your fourth house emphasizes growth through inner security. You are learning to source stability from within rather than through performance, approval, or external validation. The South Node in your 10th house releases old patterns of defining yourself primarily through that achievement or the status or how you're perceived. Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house bring maturity to creativity, to joy, and to self-expression. Pleasure becomes more intentional. You might feel called to create or express in ways that feel meaningful rather than speculative or performative. Sensitivity and discipline work together here, allowing inspiration to take form without pressure. Chiron in your 6th house highlights healing around work, service, and daily rhythms. Old wounds related to obligation, usefulness, or over responsibility will soften. You're going to become more attuned to what your body needs in order to function well, and adjustments feel supportive rather than corrective. And Uranus in your 7th continues to bring change into your relationships. Dynamics shift. Interactions will feel less predictable, but they're more honest. You're willing to maintain balance at the expense of authenticity. Relationships that allow freedom feel enlivening. Those that rely on control reveal their limits. Jupiter in your 9th house expands perspective and understanding. Meaning broadens. You're going to feel drawn to learning, to traveling, to new frameworks that help to contextualize what you are experiencing. And wisdom feels supportive rather than abstract. Black Moon Lilith in your 1st house is a key feature of this full moon for you. Instinctive self-truth becomes undeniable. You feel comfortable inhabiting yourself fully without softening the edges to maintain harmony, and your presence becomes magnetic. You no longer need to negotiate your right to exist as you are. So for Libra rising, wow, this full moon feels like a recalibration between inner nourishment and outer responsibility. Remaining visible, but no longer sourcing your worth from visibility alone. Don't get me wrong, friction will come, but it doesn't destabilize you like it once did. You feel yourself more clearly, and you trust your inner foundation to support your outward life. Hello, all my beautiful, lovely Virgo risings. Mercury is your traditional chart ruler. I like Venus as the chart ruler. You can choose which one resonates with you. Fact of the matter is they're both together in your chart, in your 5th house. Man, what a difference a few months can make. Just a few months ago, Virgo rising had all these personal planets stacked in your ascendant, and now it's virtually empty. So here's what you're going to go through, Virgo rising. This is about creative authority, collective release, and the reordering of value, right? So you've got this sun-moon opposition in your 5th and 11th house. The moon in Cancer is in your 11th house, bringing emotional awareness to friendships, community, and long-term visions. You're going to notice how certain group dynamics affect your energy more than you realized. You're not supposed to necessarily withdraw, but you will recognize which spaces nourish you and which quietly drain you. Opposite the moon in Capricorn is the sun, activating the 4th and the 5th house here with the stellium alongside the North Node in your 5th house. Creative expression, joy, and personal authorship come into focus. This moon highlights the importance of making space for what you create, not just what you contribute. You see, you are learning to value your own voice, your own pleasure, and your own spark. The North Node also here in the 5th house supports growth through self-expression that is authentic rather than curated. The South Node in your 11th house releases old patterns of over-identification with groups, causes, or collective roles that require you to minimize yourself. Saturn and Neptune are in your 6th house, bringing maturity to daily work and health rhythms. You become more aware of how structure and sensitivity must coexist. Routines will simplify, boundaries around labor and care feel more natural, and you'll learn to listen to the body without overcorrecting it. Chiron here in your 7th house reveals healing around relationship and partnership. Old wounds related to being misunderstood, over-responsible, or overly accommodating soften. You're going to notice that you no longer feel compelled to fix or manage anyone else. Uranus in your 8th house continues to awaken awareness around shared resources, intimacy, and energetic exchange. You're going to have sudden insights that arrive around where your energy's tied up, and the release happens through understanding rather than rupture. Jupiter in your 10th, this is a blessing, expands public visibility and long-term direction. Look for opportunities. Actually, you don't even have to look for them. They're going to come to you. For recognition, growth will suddenly appear, and it will feel aligned because they reflect who you truly are and not what you were expected to be. And authority comes with a lot less effort with Jupiter in your 10th house. Black Moon Lilith's in your 2nd house, squaring the lunar nodes. This brings an instinctive truth into value and self-worth. You're less willing to compromise what you know you deserve. Not in a defiant way. It's like literally just, I know this about myself now. And you recognize what's non-negotiable. And that recognition shapes your choices. So for Virgo rising, this full moon feels like permission to create without apology and to belong without disappearing. You no longer have to earn your place through service alone. And don't get me wrong, you're still going to have some friction. Things will happen, but it doesn't pull you back into those old roles, right? You discern more quickly. You choose more cleanly. And the sovereignty for you is expressed through discernment, creativity, and grounded self-worth. Hello, lovely Leo rising. The sun rules your chart, and this is a quiet power, the energy of sacred withdrawal and the end of overexertion for you. This full moon is working inward before it ever shows itself outward. You're seeing this in your 12th house. So what's illuminated for you internally will not demand visibility, but it will restore vitality because you're releasing what's been quietly depleting you. This is bringing awareness to subtle layers of your inner world. Sensitivity heightens. Dreams, intuition, and emotional undercurrents speak more clearly. This is a moment of reckoning with what has been carried behind the scenes. Old emotional residue, unconscious habits, and unspoken fatigue rise gently to the surface so they can be finally released. Opposite the moon, the sun in Capricorn activates your 6th house alongside the North Node in your 7th. Daily life, work rhythms, health, and responsibility come into focus. This full moon will reveal how much energy has been poured into maintaining structure without adequate restoration. It becomes clear that sustainability requires honoring both effort and recovery. The North Node in the 7th house emphasizes growth through relationships. You are learning how to exchange your energy with others in ways that does not consume you. Energetic boundaries and efficiency improve. You recognize that discipline can be supportive rather than punishing. The South Node in your 1st house releases old patterns of who you thought you were. You no longer need to perform to be worthy. Saturn and Neptune are in your 7th, 8th house, bringing maturity to relationships. Boundaries here clarify what you're responsible for emotionally and what you're not. Sensitivity will deepen, but it no longer blurs self-definition. You can remain compassionate without absorbing what does not belong to you. Chiron in your 8th house reveals healing around trust, intimacy, and shared resources, and old wounds related to dependence or vulnerability will soften. You may notice that you're more comfortable allowing support without losing autonomy. Uranus in your 9th house continues to liberate belief systems and long-held narratives. Perspectives shift suddenly. You will find yourself less attached to familiar explanations and more open to living as truth experienced rather than doctrine. Jupiter in your 11th house expands connection through aligned community. Support appears through friendships or collective spaces that reflect who you are now, not who you used to be. And you'll see growth will come through shared vision rather than solo effort. Black Moon Lilith in your 3rd house squares the lunar nodes. This brings instinctive honesty into communication. Plain speaking, withholding less. You no longer soften truth to maintain comfort. Words carry power because they're unfiltered and grounded at the same time. For Leo rising, this full moon feels like a quiet reclamation of energy. You stop pushing, you stop compensating, you stop overextending. Don't get me wrong, you're still going to feel friction, but it no longer drains you. You rest when rest is needed, and you work when work is aligned, and the sovereignty is expressed through rhythm rather than force. Leo rising. All right, beautiful souls. That concludes our readings by rising sign for this full moon. Just remember, it's a release. It's going to feel good to release. And good can come with bad. Good can come with sad. Good can come with sour or discomfort. But it's to open you up to something bigger that will be coming through on this eclipse portal in just a couple of weeks. So thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Much love.